Welcome again to Math 800 Pre-Algebra. Today we are doing section 3.1, problem solving with perimeter. Our objectives. 1. To use the formula for perimeter of a square to find the perimeter or the length of one side. 2. To use the formula for perimeter of a rectangle to find the perimeter, the length, or the width. And 3. To find the perimeter of parallelograms, triangles, and irregular shapes. This is our first section where we're going to be working with formulas. A formula is just a shorthand way of writing a rule for solving a particular type of problem. Formulas are very important not only in mathematics, but in many other subject areas including science, business, and economics. It is imperative that you learn how to work with formulas. We will be working with the formula for perimeter in this section. Perimeter is the distance around the outside edges of any flat shape. In general, you can find the perimeter of any shape by adding up the lengths of all its sides. We are going to look at specific formulas for some specific shapes, but in general, what you need to know is that perimeter is the distance around the outside edge of something. That will be very important, particularly for application problems. Here is a square. We know it's a square for two reasons. First, all four sides, it has four sides. All four sides are the same length. Notice they're all 9 feet. Also, the four sides meet at right angles. In mathematics and in science, we indicate right angles with this little square box here in the corner. That is the generally accepted rule for stating that this is a right angle or a 90-degree angle. That is how we know it is a square. Rectangles also have right angles. If we were to cut this square at the corner here, between the green side and the dark blue side, and unfold it and lay it end to end, we can see that to find the perimeter, or the distance around the outside edge, we would just add up these four sides. So, the perimeter of a square are the four sides added together, side plus side plus side plus side. In general, square or not, anytime you have a shape, you can find the perimeter by adding up its sides. In this case, because it is a square, these four sides are all the same, so I can just say 4 times side, or, if we want to use letters, 4s. Find the perimeter of a square that measures 9 feet on each side. The formula was P equals 4s. If it measures 9 feet on each side, we're going to replace the s for side length with 9 feet. A quick note about units. Your final answer must have units in it, but it is up to you whether you want to include the units while you are working the problem or simply add them at the end. Some students find it helpful to include the units from the very beginning. We will now do this multiplication. 4 times 9 feet will be 36 feet. The perimeter of the square is 36 feet. Again, going back, all they did is they added up these four sides. Since they were all the same, we took a shortcut and just multiplied 4 times 9 and got 36 feet. Example: if the perimeter of a square is 40 centimeters, find the length of one side. In this case, we are told the perimeter is 40 centimeters and we want to use the formula to figure out what the side lengths are. We will replace P, the perimeter, with 40 centimeters since that is what the problem told us. Now we have to figure out what the side length is. This is 4 times s. Remember, anytime you have a number next to a letter, it is a multiplication. To undo this multiplication, we're going to divide both sides by 4. Again, because this is an equation, you have to do it to both sides. 40 divided by 4 is 10. Our units are centimeters, so the length of one side is centimeters. Again, it is up to you whether you want to include centimeters from the beginning or simply add them to your final answer. However, you must have them in your final answer or you will lose points. Finding the perimeter of a rectangle. The perimeter of a rectangle can be found by adding up its four sides. However, its four sides are not all the same. 2 sides are the same, we call them length, and the other 2 sides are the same, and we call them width. Therefore, the perimeter is 2 times length plus 2 times width, or 2L plus 2W. It is up to you whether you want to use this formula or whether you simply want to add all four sides together. Use whichever one makes the most sense to you and is the easiest for you to remember. Example: find the perimeter of this rectangle. We will say that this 27 side is the length and this 11 side is the width. It is up to you which one you label the length and the width. Traditionally, we call that bottom flat edge the length and the sides the width. The length is 27 meters and the width is 11 meters. Our formula is P equals 2L plus 2W. We will replace the L with 27 meters and the width with 11 meters. Now we will do our multiplication. Remember, order of operations says to do multiplication before addition. 2 times 27 meters is 54 meters, and 2 times 11 meters is 22 meters. Now we will add, and we'll get 76 meters. Again, you could have simply added all four sides up. 27 plus 11 would be 38. 38 plus 27 would be 65, and 65 plus 11 would be 76. 76 meters. And again, don't forget units on your answer. Another example. If the perimeter of a rectangle is 20 feet and the width is 3 feet, find the length. First, draw the rectangle. Many of us are visual learners, and it is very helpful to have a shape to look at. Here is our rectangle. We were told that the width is 3 feet, so I label that 3 feet. It asks us to find the length, so I put a question mark for the length I don't know. Our formula is P equals 2L plus 2W. Perimeter is 2 times length plus 2 times W. We are told that the perimeter is 20 feet, perimeter of a rectangle is 20 feet, and the width is 3 feet. So we replace the variables that we are given with the values given. Perimeter is 20 feet, we don't know anything about length, so that stays our L, and width is 3 feet. Now we will do this multiplication, 2 times 3 feet. We have 20 feet equals 2L plus 6 feet. And now we need to get this L by itself. We will subtract 6 feet from both sides. You can also think of that as adding a negative 6 to both sides. Again, the reason we do this is because we get 0. 6 feet minus 6 feet is 0. So we have 14 feet equals 2L, and then divide both sides by 2 and get 7 feet equals L. The length is 7 feet. A quick note about your handwriting, be careful with the letter L. If you're not careful, that can turn into a 1, and the next thing you know, this is 21. So when I write it by hand, I make my L very cursive. A parallelogram is a four-sided figure in which opposite sides are both parallel and equal in length. Here is an example of a parallelogram. This is the fancy math way that we say side EF, that's what this EF with a line over it, and side HG, that's the HG with the line are parallel. You'll learn more about parallel when you get into your next sections of mathematics, either introductory algebra or intermediate algebra. So these two lines are parallel, and these two blue lines, EH and FG, are parallel. Find the perimeter of a parallelogram. There is no formal definition. However, this is just a straight-sided shape, so to find the perimeter, you just add up all the sides. 12 plus 12 and 8 plus 8. Remember, we are adding, so order doesn't matter. You could also have written 12 plus 8 plus 12 plus 8. You don't have to have them grouped next to each other. When you add all of them up, you get 40 meters as our perimeter. You must have units in your final answer. A triangle is a figure with exactly 3 sides. This is one example of a triangle. This is another example of a triangle. Nothing else is specified about the triangle, other than it has 3 sides. To find the perimeter of the triangle, once again just use the definition of perimeter, that it is the outside edges, so we will just add up the 3 sides. 16 plus 30 plus 34. The perimeter is 80 millimeters. Sometimes you will be given an irregular shape and asked to find one of the missing side lengths. In this case, we have an 18 feet length here on the bottom, and then these two lengths here on the top. One is given, 6 feet, one is unknown. If this is 18 feet on the bottom, you could think of this as a giant line. If we move that line up, you'll notice it's the same length. And if we imagine this unknown piece, and we move that up, it is clear then, if we take this unknown piece plus the 6 feet we know, together they have to add up to that total of 18 feet. Solve this like you would solve any equation, subtract 6 from both sides, and we get that the unknown side is 12 feet. This has to be 12 feet, because 12 feet plus 6 feet would give us the 18 feet. Our last example. Suppose the floor of a room is the shape shown below. If you want to put a wallpaper border around the room, how much material do you need? Any type of border, whether it's wallpaper or whether it's a baseboard or whether you're doing a fence around a yard, any sort of border uses perimeter. To find the perimeter, we're just going to add up all the sides. So the 9 feet, the 12 feet, the 6 feet, the 6 feet, the 15 feet, and the 18 feet. Add up all the sides and you get 66 feet. Sometimes you will have to do a little bit more with this. For example, they could have asked you how much it would cost to wallpaper the room if wallpaper was $10 per foot. Then you would just take your 66 feet times the $10 or something like that. In this case, we know we need 66 feet of wallpaper. Again, units are very important. You couldn't walk into Home Depot and just say, "Excuse me, sir, I need 66 wallpaper." They'll ask you what measurements: inches, feet, yards, meters, millimeters. So it's very important that you have units. That concludes section 3.1. Your next steps are to complete the worksheet for section 3.1, then check the key, either in D2L or wait until we go over it in class. After that, complete the online homework for section 3.1 through My Math Lab, and then lastly start on section 3.2.